Good morning, Bailey Cunningham, Air Quality Specialist with the City of Wichita. As you know, an ozone alert was issued for Wichita and the surrounding communities yesterday, April 11th. Range burning and atmospheric conditions indicated high ozone levels were possible. Yesterday evening, we did see winds shift from south to east, and wind gusts increased to 15 miles per hour. This caused smoke due to prescribed fires occurring east of town to travel into the Wichita area. Typically, this would be a recipe for negative air quality impacts, and in fact, we did see ozone levels spike well above the standard in the 6 and 7 o'clock hours. But because ozone levels were reasonably low earlier in the day, the recorded 8-hour average for April 11th was 70 parts per billion. The National Ambient Air Quality Standard for ozone is 70 parts per billion. So we maintained compliance with the set standard and did not have an exceedance day yesterday. We believe advising the community of the Ozone Alert Day and their wonderful participation collectively made the difference in avoiding an exceedance day. We would like to thank community members and ask community members that have participated to keep doing what you're doing. It's clearly making a difference. If you would like to learn about how you can participate, please visit wichita.gov/ozone and the city's Facebook page. And for continuous air quality updates and tips, please follow @BeAirAwareKansas on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you. Questions?
You talked about the collective powers of the community helping with that yesterday. Can you kind of just address some of the things that people did or people should be doing?
Sure. So we know that individuals rode Wichita Transit yesterday. We know that we had members of the community carpooling. We know that we had members of the community postponing yard work. All of these activities avoid emissions that would otherwise be present in the air to form ozone, but because those emissions were reduced and avoided, these emissions that we can't avoid that are out of our control had less of an impact on our ozone levels.
And obviously range burning was one of the contributing factors yesterday. Can you just kind of address for the folks that are from the city and don't know why range burning occurs? It is allowed.
Right. Agricultural burning is required for farmers and ranchers to maintain their land. It's well-known and accepted in Kansas that these agricultural burns occur. They prevent wildfires from occurring by containing cedar and sumac, and so we know that this is going to occur every year, and we know that if we happen to get easterly winds, that the smoke from those fires could potentially move into our area. So it's really important that we continue to do those everyday actions to help lower as much ozone as we can within the city so it doesn't affect ozone levels.
And do you guys expect to have another, high ozone alert day with more burns, or will there be more?
It will just depend on conditions. So we know that acreage burn to date is at about 50%. So over the course of the next 10 days, just dependent on wind direction, temperatures, we could see another high ozone day, but we'll advise the community if we believe that that's going to happen.
Did we already have an elevated ozone level when the alert was called for yesterday?
No. So when we called the alert on Monday, we looked at all of the precursors, sort of the ingredients that would cause a high ozone alert day, and we predicted that we would have a high ozone alert or a high ozone day yesterday. But we did not see high ozone levels until that 5, 6, and 7 o'clock time period when the smoke started to roll in. Prior to that, ozone levels were reasonably low.
One more question we had viewers call in yesterday asking if they were walking around yesterday during the high ozone alert day, how that affects them, and what should people do when another one of these occurs.
So we ask people to ride their bike and walk on these days to avoid emissions, and when we ask for participation, we are talking about healthy individuals who don't have any of those respiratory conditions. If you're in a sensitive group and you have asthma or COPD, we would ask that or advise that you may consider staying indoors. If you were to have some tightness in chest or feel any effects of the smoke, we would advise that you contact your physician.
You mentioned ridership numbers for transit. Do you have numbers?
I don't at this time. If that's something you're interested in, I can get those for you.
Do you have the individual measurements between that 6 and 7 o'clock hour?
Yes. So the 6 o'clock hour, we had ozone levels measured at 93 parts per billion, and the 7 o'clock hour, we had ozone levels measured at 94 parts per billion.
And how do those numbers stack up? And are those potentially more hazardous since they're higher than that average set at 70?
They are. So the standard is based on an 8-hour average because health effects are based on an 8-hour average. So if you were in conditions for that entire 8-hour period, those 1-hour spikes contribute to that 8-hour average and are moderately higher than what we would normally see. On a typical April day, we might see ozone levels in the 40s or 50s. Okay, thank you.
All right. Good morning, guys. Gotta bear with me. My allergies are causing my voice to go in and out. So there's just a couple things that we wanted to cover today. There's a silent auction going on right now until April 22nd on the Support Local Law Enforcement Wichita Facebook page. It's a Wooshock hand-carved wood statue. It's autographed by Wichita State University basketball head coach Greg Marshall. This auction is endorsed by the Honore Adversus Foundation. 100% of the proceeds will go to Officer Arterburn. So go to the Support Local Law Enforcement and bid in a private message to them until April 22nd. And the other thing we wanted to recognize this week is National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Sedgwick County Emergency Communication Dispatcher and call takers take calls for help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In 1994, National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week was formally recognized. It's celebrated each year during the second full week of April. The Wichita Police Department appreciates all dispatchers who are true first responders. They are the calm in the storm, not only to us, but to frantic citizens calling in needing help. A dispatcher is someone who answers 911 lines, gives pre-arrival instructions, listens to cries for those who need help, gives CPR instructions, all while making sure responders are safe. So we cannot do what we do without dispatchers. So please take the time to thank a dispatcher for everything they do.
What was the date again, the cutoff date on the auction?
Cutoff date is April 22nd. The auction will go on until April 22nd, and then obviously the high bid gets that wood hand-carved statue. Okay, thanks for bearing with me today. Have a good day.
It's the ozone.
It's the ozone. It's people running their